We will start the questions. Thank you very much, everybody. By the way, I just want to remind everyone here that the primary is September 9th.
We all know that.
Okay. Well, some of you know that. I have to look it up. So. Anyway, so, oh, it was in the wire. And why would I read that rag? Anyway, so just so everybody knows, spread it around. Linda, do you want to come up and ask the question? Use the mic?
Yeah. Use those mics. Because
those mics work.
Funny, the battery one's better.
All right, well, obviously, does this work?
Yeah, hit the button.
Green light. Okay.
there you go.
Obviously, there were a lot of questions about the same topic, so what I'm trying to do is combine them. And the one on affordable housing, I'll start with this one. Your wire statement, Mr. Herzog, but this will be to all of you because I'm combining many questions. Spoke to our affordable housing issues both on Roosevelt Island and in New York City generally. How would you address our loss of senior and disabled housing, the end of state Mitchell-Lama subsidized housing, and the lack of affordable housing in Southtown despite the requirement of the General Development Plan? Then from other people's cards, I got tenants' rights, rent law accountability, SCREE, sub-metering, people earning over $200,000 in apartments that could be used for people of lower income, etc. So there's a lot on that's a big question, but there you go. Affordable housing.
And I get 2 minutes? Oh, that's not a problem. Let's be serious. Affordable housing. So here on Roosevelt Island, as I alluded to before, well, let me stop. The trend that you all know out here, as I alluded to before, in terms of the conversion of the wire buildings, affects all of us. You see it in the paper, we're losing affordable housing. In the last 10 years, the leadership in Albany and City Council have watched as 19% of the affordable housing units in the island of Manhattan alone disappeared. We lost 3,000 units last year alone. You are facing that right here, Mitchell-Lama, all the wire buildings, Westview, the Island Housing, River Cross, Roosevelt, right, thank you, Roosevelt. These are long-term issues because as you convert these apartments in these buildings, you were talking now about a unique situation here on Roosevelt Island because the land is owned by the city, but it's run by the state. We're exiting Mitchell-Lama. So in order to be converting these apartments, whether or not you're going to be able to bequeath them to relatives or children, it depends on your contractual rights in 2068 when the lease runs out. That's not very far away. And it goes to the same points I've been talking about overall. Which is we need to be thinking long-term vigilantly about this. So how would I address it? There is no panacea. I have no universal aspirin to solve your problem. I know it's campaign season and I'm supposed to tell you, promise you the world. I'm here to speak truth to power and truth to you. And that is, it's hard and it's going to take time and it's going to take vigilance and to make sure that we've thought of all the possibilities here. Because you need to be thinking and planning, because those of you who are going through this conversion know what happens in 2068. We're going to renew the lease? Do we have a representative who's thought about this? Has someone given some thought to the long-term planning? As we alluded to before with Cornell, they're bringing out thousands of people. By the way, are they going to be contributing to what goes on here in terms of services? I know they're paying $400,000 a month, but will they be paying money into the services that the people that they bring to the island will be using? So to these questions, I say, yes, there are answers, but they're hard. They take thinking. We're going to have to deal with a lot of issues at one time in order to solve this affordable housing problem. Okay.
The first thing I would do is repeal the Erstat law and make sure that New York City determines what the rent increase should be. That's the first thing we should do. I am a big believer in 50, 30, 20% split. For anybody in the audience who doesn't know what that is, market rate for 50%, 30% for middle class, and lower income would be 20%. The reason why we need to work with developers to do that is because the Mitchell-Lama program was a great program. We need to keep that in place, but unfortunately, I don't believe in having another program where it's one building that's affordable housing. What will happen is you're going to have a reservation on the outskirts of New York City, and they won't have a doorman, they'll have a security guard. The only way to get away from that is the 50, 30, 20% split, where we have all people that can live in the same building and have the same entrance. Now, there were a couple controversial things on there, like controversy. One of the things was sub-metering. I'll address that. I'll go on a limb here. I believe that the tenants need to have their rent not go up. I think it is a good idea to split it out, to have the electric bill separate than the rent. I'll tell you why. If someone cannot pay their electric bill, I don't want that packaged in the rent. Because if they can't pay the electric bill, they can be evicted for not paying their rent. So the two should be split out and deal with two separate issues. My time's up. Oh, 30 seconds. Oh, got it. What was the other question on there? There was a couple others that I could address.
Screen.
Great. It was raised to 50. I think so. The screen was up to 50,000. I think it should be higher. What is the definition of middle class right now? Right? What is the definition of middle class? There are people that are making 75, 60,000 and are having a tough time living in the city. And we need to address that. So I think that should be a little bit higher. Seniors that are disadvantaged. I know a lot of seniors that are using their 401ks and spending that, and that's considered income. And they saved their whole lives for that money, and they're at a serious disadvantage and they're going forward.
Hi, so I'll just generally address affordable housing and specifically here on the island. First and foremost, exits from Mitchell-Lama. We need to change the law so that when buildings exit from Mitchell-Lama, rental buildings exit from Mitchell-Lama, no matter what year they were built, pre or post 1974, the units remain stabilized forever. That's going to require, most likely, home rule on rent laws for New York City, which leads to a good point that David made, which is that we absolutely must repeal the Roosevelt law and give New York City the ability to set its own rules in this area. We also need to clarify how DRE and SCRE apply in apartments, in rental apartments that are exiting from Mitchell-Lama. They need to apply, and I think that's critically important, especially here on Roosevelt Island, which has a disproportionately large disabled population that needs rent protection. That's first and foremost how we deal with buildings coming out of Mitchell-Lama and how we deal with preservation of affordable housing. But I think really the next big step, and I think that the mayor has put some great framework out there, is that we need to be creating more affordable housing for the middle class and for the working poor in the city going forward. We need new units where young families and seniors can move in. Roosevelt Island itself is pretty heavily developed already, is very, very dense. So I don't think there's going to be a tremendous amount of new development here on Roosevelt Island. But we do need to have a new form of Mitchell-Lama law, new programs on a citywide and statewide basis to encourage the development of affordable housing for middle class and working class people on a mixed income basis. And I have a lot of specific plans on that, but I think that I'm about to run out of time, so thank you.
Well, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, is this on?
No.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, I was endorsed by the Tenants PAC, and that's an endorsement that I'm very proud of. One of the things that I would do is team up with Senator Liz Krueger, Senator Jose Serrano in Albany, who endorsed my candidacy, to put together some strong laws to protect tenants. Our seniors have worked hard their entire life, and they shouldn't be afraid and scared that they're going to be priced out of their apartment. We have two buildings coming out of the Mitchell-Lama program in Roosevelt Island, Westview in October, and Island House currently has...
Island House is first. Westview is not.
Okay, so I had that wrong. Island House is first and Westview. Okay, right. So you're still waiting on Westview, but you can put that plan together now. And I recently spoke with the dean of the CUNY Law School, your neighbor across the water here, about having a free housing clinic on the island where law students and law professors can give free tenant advice to the residents and also on elder law. So I would be a strong advocate, again, teaming up with nonprofit organizations to get some free counseling and put strong laws in place in Albany to protect our tenants. Thank you.